वाइस कहता है क्या कमेंट.
Good morning, good afternoon. I am Krishna. I am a physiotherapist and practicing in Pondicherry. So that's about me. So far we have been seeing why the biomedical model is not such a good model to address pain, because there are a lot of cons in it. We are focusing too much on the tissue. Is the tissue the only part in our body which is causing pain? And the tissue is just a generator. What is happening with higher orders? Those are the things we'll be going through now. So the same patient, low back pain for a few months, activities increase pain, rest decreases pain, recurrent episode, no red flags. There is external support for work. So the common diagnosis will be either disc problems depending on the age, activity, and the scans. So we will focus too much on the disc. Or if in a physio terms, we can go to the pelvic tilt, the tightness, or the joint alignment kind of thing. So these are the things which we have been seeing so far. Is not so. It is not a complete picture of understanding of pain. So in the back pain patient, what is the cause of the pain? Is it the disc? Is it the fibula? Is it the fascia? Is it the joint? Is it something else? Is it the nerves or other muscles or the tight muscles? So there can be numerous causes of the pain, but the usual treatment that we go about is electrical modalities, traction, manual therapy, completely vessel, or addressing the muscle joint or anything. So how does manual therapy work? This is what we are going to see. If manual therapy works, what causes the reduction of pain after manual therapy? So if there is a joint misalignment, if we are correcting it, won't the joint go back to its usual position? After correcting it, like how much times of correction is it required to keep the joint in its present place? So we never check the joint after 3 months, after 1 month or 2 months where the patient is pain. Is the joint the place where we put it? Does the muscle does not have trigger after we release it? These are some questions which we need to understand. But if those are not valid, why is there a reduction of pain? So that is a good question to ask. Why is there a need to change in the presently used models? The presently used model is the biomechanical model. So we will be moving on into the biopsychosocial model, where we take not only the tissues, the whole organism as a person, and address the problem of pain. So what is the role of patient in the pain management? So the basic premise is all pain is neurogenic. Any sensation, being painful or not, can happen only inside the nervous system. It's direct. So whatever sensation, vision, touch, taste, cold, hot, pain, not pain, joint sense, movement, every sensation starts from the nerve ending, ends in the brain. It does not happen because of the muscle or joint or anything. It's just a, it's kind of a contributor or a communicator, but it does. If there is no nervous system in the body, we will not sense or feel anything. So this is given because to stress the importance of the nervous system in the role of pain. So even for pain, if we remove the nervous system out of the person, if there is a trigger in the muscle, we will not sense anything. If there is a joint misalignment, we will not sense anything. So any sensation is from the nervous system. That's it. Next slide. So what happens in a let's say we take a trigger point or a joint dysfunction. So there are 3 nerve endings. They pick up the danger signals from the joint or the muscle or the fascia or wherever, and those are transmitted to the nociceptive fibers, A delta or C fibers. This again is transferred to the dorsal root ganglia, to the spinal cord, dorsal root spinal cord, from brain stem, then to the brain. So this is the way the danger signal is received from the periphery and transferred to the central process. So what we usually do is we focus more outside of the peripheral nervous system, the the joint tissues. We do not never focus on the this nervous system which does the most of the work. So what stimulates the free nerve endings? So when a free nerve ending is, or we can say it as a nociceptor. Nociceptor is something like a danger reduction receptor. That's it. There are different types of nociceptors. The transformation of a pressure, temperature, or chemical information into a neural code is called as transduction. That happens in a nociceptive receptor. So these are just free nerve endings that we know already. So the usual causes we will attribute it to the disc changes, which will be a nociceptor drive or a restricted model and tight muscle or a restricted fascia. But the different types of nociceptors are either it can stimulate only to tissue injury, heat or cold, or to inflammation. These nociceptors will not change for a tight muscle or a misaligned joint. It only responds to too much of a pressure. If there is inflammation, there are chemical messengers which will stimulate the nociceptor. So the information that gets into the nervous system is only because of these three causes, not for other causes that we are seeing on the other side. So if there is a nociceptive sensation going in, this will be because of either tissue injury, or it might be there may be too much of heat or cold, or again there will be inflammation because of any acute injury. So again, the journey of earlier we saw as a journey of a pain signal. Now we are seeing there is no pain signal that is going from the periphery to the central. So it is only a danger information or an alarm kind of a thing which the tissues convey to the free nerve endings, and that is only transmitted up to the brain. So at what level there is a painful sensation? So when there is no specific pain pathway, there are no specific pain fibers. These free nerve endings are regular. They can even transmit normal sensations, and when the threshold is too much or too high, they will also transmit dangerous sensation. So there is no specific pain receptors, there is no specific pain pathway. So these are the same pathways which other senses use, but this can also act as a nociceptive receptor or a pathway. So when the information gets into the nervous system, it is just a danger signal. So this can be modulated at various levels. Each level is a synapse. So when it goes to a synapse, in the synapse it can be either facilitated or inhibited. So the common thing that we know is the inhibition, the gate control theory in the spinal cord level. That is the whole idea of TENS, IFT and all. So where the signal is not allowed to move further up. But that is also inadequate because we are leaving again two more important structures, the role of those structures in understanding pain. We are only focusing in the periphery if we see up to the gate control system. So at what level do you think there will be a painful sensation? Is it at the free nerve endings, or which level do you think there will be a painful experience? Brain. So what do you think? When will there be a pain experience? So when we have an injury, any injury for that matter, when the receptors are activated in the periphery, will we have it as a sensation? Or when it reaches the spinal cord, or when it reaches the brain? When do you think there will be a painful sensation? Just when it reaches the brain, there will be a sensation, right? Okay. So when nociception, it is not again painful sensation, this is a nociception which is a danger signal. When it reaches the brain, it goes through, it is not just accepted. Brain is not a passive recipient of all the external stimuli. If there is a smell, if I say, I might either like it or not like it. If there is a food, I would like it or not like it. The sensation of smell has reached my brain, and the value that I give for that food or smell or pain is dependent on various factors. So when the nociception reaches the brain crossing the spinal cord, it goes to different areas where the concentration or focusing is involved. Like if there is, when a person has back pain, they tend to focus too much on their back. When they do whatever work, their focus will be only on the back. So next they will think how to solve the problem. So they will remember their personal experience or someone's shared experience or the information that they have in their memory regarding that pain. And there is fear. If that memory or experience has been that, there will be fear. And if the sensory discrimination is the location where if only the sensory cortex of the back is stimulated, we will sense pain here. If it is not happening, then we will not be having a clear sensation. And because of all these are threatening information, we get stress response. The body will become any pain, the body becomes more stressed. And we will be looking out to either move or not move. Either to be there and we will analyze the situation. And hippocampus again made memory the same thing. So when a nociception reaches up the brain, it does not directly convert into a sensation. The nociception is evaluated based on memory, concentration, experience, knowledge, all those things. When the brain decides if this nociception is sufficient to alert or inform us about the damage, then only that information is transferred into consciousness as a painful experience. Usually, we have been saying that a lot of normal disc changes or the joint changes or those people are asymptomatic. For them also, there is nociception going in from the periphery to the center. But for them, their brain or body has decided not to give importance so that to bring that information to their conscious. If the information is not brought into the consciousness, we will not experience pain. So it's not ignoring. See, I can it's not tolerating if it's adaptation kind of a thing, or there is no value for the nociceptive information. So if there is a threatening stimulus, first time I am seeing a snake, I will be really afraid. If I get used to it, there will be a minimal amount of threat, but I will not be worried about it. If it's going to cause any danger to me or not. Because the experience with the snake has altered my perception of the threat. You get the point, right? So the whole idea is even from a small pinprick to a big fracture or any kind of injury, this process will happen all the time. If there is a pain, this process has been done in a second and we will be experiencing this. This whole evaluation will be happening each and every time. There is no exception, whatever the pain may be. So if you have any doubts here, I can yes? Yes, because in acute pain there will be more nociception coming up, more danger signals coming up. Even then, it's the brain's decision to make it painful or not. You should have seen it, and there are so many examples. Soldiers who get injured, but they don't report pain. Players in the field, they get severe injury, and there are instances where there has been fractures happening in the field, and the persons will not experience any pain. So there is a lot of nociception, but the context where they are in, the brain decides this is not something important to focus right now, I have a game to play. This is an evolutionary thing, because when we are like hunter-gatherer kind of a thing, when we are in a forest during evolution, when there is a tiger, we'll be running, there will be a lot of thorns, we'll be falling down, there will be injury, the tiger would have bitten us, but we should escape. If the body has decided to focus on the tissue, then the survival value is gone. So the whole point why this kind of a system is developed is for survival. So the whole thing should be seen from a survival point of view. So I have a back pain now, and I come here, the context or the environment is safe for me to express it. I'm walking in a street, I'm crossing the road, I have a back pain, sudden bout of back pain, and there is a bus coming in to hit me. Will my brain focus the concentration, where will it be? It will be in the back, or it will be running away. So the whole thing is context dependent. So if that's the crux here. So if we are able to change the context, how the person perceives, then the whole thing changes. So be it acute or chronic, this happens. The only change between acute and chronic is the peripheral information which comes in. Any other queries?
What we are saying is that it depends on the person when he is concentrating more. If he is concentrating on the painful side or is thinking about the pain, he will see more pain. Or otherwise he is not at all bothering that, he won't get that much pain.
Yes, it's not only, these are not conscious things. It's not like calculating maths. It's not a conscious thing. So these movement cognition, stress response, these are all unconscious aspects. Only when it reaches a conscious aspect of that, we will experience it. When you say the focus, I come to that if you want. So what we can say is pain is an output of this brain. So pain is not an input that goes from the periphery to the center. It's an output which comes from the brain. So I can feel pain here, I can feel pain here, or wherever I want. Why I feel pain here is my somatosensory cortex is stimulated. Have you seen the homunculus, the part where we have big tongue, the representation in the brain, big back representation? So only when that part of my back is, go to the previous one, this sensory discrimination happens there. Only when my sensory cortex is stimulated, I will feel sensation here. That's why in phantom limb pain, there will be no part and they will be sensing pain because this sensory cortex is overactive or is covering the loss of limb or anything. You will feel the sensation. So this, you get the point, right? So pain is an output of the brain rather than an input. So we need to differentiate nociception and pain. Nociception is the danger signal that goes into the brain. Pain is the output which we experience. Pain is a sensory event. It's a stimulus event. Pain is a sensory event which happens after. So in a way we can say pain is fully in the brain. So basically if there is no brain, there will be no pain. So protection of tissue injury is never equal to pain. If there is a tissue injury, it doesn't mean always we should experience pain. Right? Let's say take fracture. At the moment of fracture, we will be having a lot of pain. How long does a fracture take to heal? 3 months, 4 months? So after 1 week, we will be in a cast, there will be injury, but there will be no pain. Why is that so? If there is an injury, we should be having pain for 3 or 4 months, right? What happens during a fracture is, the cast and the reassurance from the doctor will heal. All those information will evaluate the danger signal from here and it will convert it into non-threatening so that I need not show it or feel it as pain. Yes. You get the point, right? So the context plays a big role here. So nociception or tissue damage is never equal to pain. Nociception is a peripheral event, it's a stimulus event. Sensation of pain is a sensory event which happens in the center. So these are the things which we say to a patient who has back pain, right? If there are any mistakes, let me know. Your back is weak, you are misaligned, protect your back, beware of your posture, your joint has been damaged, if you move your disc will be moved out. Right? So what we tend to do is we give all this information. When there is evaluation or cognition, what happens naturally? The brain tends to facilitate the nociception. So the brain has the ability to control the lower parts, right? If the gate control theory, if the brain decides it needs to be facilitated, if there is so much of danger, the brain's tendency is to focus more on that. So what happens, again in an evolutionary perspective, the brain needs to focus more on that. What it does, it will open the gate. It will facilitate more nociceptive input and the cycle keeps coming again and again. So when there is too much of a threatening input or information, that will be a major cause for propagating pain. Okay, if this back pain patient, I am seeing them for a week and I am making them alright, what happens if they have a second episode? Even before they meet us, they have all this information which we have educated and that will increase their pain considerably. Not for all, but it might play a big role in that. So also we write articles about pain, the people read about it in the internet. So when we Google of low back pain, these are the images that we get. So when people see, is this the kind of thing what we have inside? If you take an anatomy book, there are lots of tissues. The ligaments are there. There are layers and layers of muscle. If we see these kinds of image and imagine our back, they feel it as something it can crumble out. So if that kind of an understanding is there for their back, then they are not going to move. If they feel it needs to be protected, there will be more of a muscle tone. There will be more of tightening will be there. So when we see and check the tighten the muscle, we might feel it as a trigger or whatever we need to understand. So all the tightness is protection, not the problem. All the tight muscle that we see in a misaligned joint or whatever is a protective response where the brain is trying to protect the back because of all this information. What happens is, the same thing happens, but there will be a stage of concentration of focusing, fear of movement is there, there will be no clear sensory understanding of the part, there will be increased stress, reduced motivation, they won't be able to move properly, they will be thinking wrong. So when all this happens, there will be a tendency for the output to be more. So, per se, if we say, we treat physiology, not anatomy. The surgeons treat anatomy, not as physios. So, whatever, be it manual, be it exercise or whatever, we can only alter the physiological changes. We can never change a structure, right? Have you ever changed a structure while treating? That is a physiological change. You are not.
It takes time to evolve to hypertrophy. It doesn't happen in one day.
One or two sessions. It's a response kind of a thing, right? So if you say hypertrophy, why is the need for? Where is the relationship between pain and the lack of hypertrophy? Why do you need hypertrophy to treat pain? We should always associate in that manner. So the problem is we treat patient get better. Since they get better, our brain has a very poor memory. What did we eat for last week, Monday morning breakfast? We never know. Right? In that sense, we only remember those patients who get better, not the ones who don't get better. So if we see in that aspect, we only remember all those things which we will not focus on. We will be focusing on tissue and patient gets better, I'm satisfied, patient is satisfied, they'll go away. The remaining percentage who doesn't get better, they'll be roaming around for a better solution. So that's the point. Next slide. So where does our treatment work? That's the part Sam is going to talk. Like I have given a glimpse of what changing the ideas, belief, perception plays a major role. The way that we give exercise again the explanation for the exercise that we give or the manual therapy that we give. If we say I'm going to fix this, it's a skilled work. Next time a pain comes, they have to come back to us. If it is something that's going to get all right on their own, we need to teach self-management more. So in this whole, the brain circuit which we have been talking about, if there is too much dependent on the external, then they are going to be disabled. Each time they have to come running back to us. So one more thing is self-efficacy, where things they can manage on their own. The idea of managing problem on their own should be boosted. If it is not, that is a primary reason why low back pain patients go into a chronic state. So if we make dependent on any of the things, modality or manual therapy or whatever, what happens is it will go into a, we will drop the self-efficacy and there is a very high chance of them going into a chronic state. So whatever we design, it should be in a manner, or the explanation should be reinforcing the concepts of a strong body, healing body, and encouraging self-management. That is the simple idea. And also whatever treatment that we do, again we are not addressing the biology. Healing happens because body works. We can facilitate body's healing. So that's it.
So it's one question from Facebook. So the question is,
How about in a dislocation?
Huh?
How about in a dislocation? Unless you treat anatomy, you won't be able to stop the physiology of pain.
It again depends on the context. See, there are people who can voluntarily dislocate their shoulders, right? There are people who can voluntarily. I had a patient a couple of months back who has a ACL injury of 5 years old. He was just translating his tibia forward voluntarily. There was complete translation of tibia anteriorly. It all depends how old is the injury. Is it acute? If it is acute, there will be too much of tissue damage, there will be too much of nociception. If it goes into chronic phase or longer term, the nociception will go down, but the injury will remain. Injury is not injury. The change of anatomy will be there.
okay.
It all depends if the problem is acute or chronic. In acute phase, there will be more of peripheral information coming in. If we do not make sure the top-down modulation is happening, like dampening down the peripheral modulation, what happens is the spinal cord or the brainstem or central, the brain wants to focus too much on the tissue. So what it does is it opens up all the gate. Then there will be so much of nociception. People get headaches, right? We don't go and treat headaches like we do for back pain. Pedro Sullivan said in a video I just saw, like headache, back pain can come for no reason at all, maybe just because we are stressed out. So more than 90% of the back pain does not have any anatomical correlations. It is non-specific low back pain. That's it. We cannot find any tissue or anything. So what will you do in that case scenario is what Sarah is going to talk. Thank you.